I have the front of the fox body and the back pieces put together. Now I'm going to put the whole entire head together. For the ears on the fox, I like to put the ear directly centered with the little seams on the forehead. If you do that, the fox ears will stick up a little bit more as opposed to sitting off to the side. Put a pin in that. Place the other ear. Make sure that the white side of the ear is placed on the front. Otherwise his ear will be backwards. And now we're going to place the back of the head to the front of the head. To find the center seam of the fox forehead, fold the pieces over so that those two seams match up and just put a little crease in there. This center seam will line up with the center seam on the back of the fox head. Line those two up, press open your seam, and pin that in place. Now we're going to line up our notches on the back head piece to the cheek side. So we have those little notches. Make sure those are aligned. I had it. There it is again. I'm going to pin that in place so I don't lose it. And you want to line up the neck on both sides. Once you have your fox head all pinned together, you're going to sew from one corner of the neck all the way around the head to the other corner of the other side of the neck. When you come to the ear pieces, you want to make sure to pull those little corners of the ear down in along that seam so that they stay rounded. This will give the ear a nice little shape once it's stuffed. Just keep going all the way around. Now that we have the head and the body put together in their relative pieces, we want to put the head inside the body. So to do that for now, we're going to turn this right side out. Just really simple, it doesn't have to be exact. And I'm going to attach the arms to the fox head or to the side of the neck. The palms have to be face up so that when the arms are down, the palm is down. So you should see the palm as you're doing this step. Place the arm, the center of the arm, right in the center, lined up with the seam on the side of the neck. So you'll have the arm and the side seam of the neck together. Put a pin in that. And repeat that on the other side. Again, you want to make sure the paw print is upright, or the palm. And now we're going to put this inside the fox body. The fox body needs to have the belly side up and the fox face up as well. Slip that right in. And now we're going to align all of our seams. We have a front seam, the two side seams, and the back seam. These will all match up to the neck around the fox head. So line up your seams. I like to press my seams open, but you can also just press them to the opposite sides. Pin them all in place. And once they're all pinned in place, we're going to baste stitch around the neck. The basting stitch allows you the opportunity to take all the pins out and sew the neck all the way around without having the pins in place or without them poking you. If you don't want to sew the neck with the machine, use a back stitch and make sure that the neck seam is really secure and make sure that your arms are intact. When you're all done sewing up the neck seam, take the fox head out of the body and clip and notch all the way around the fox head as well as this top part of the body. I also made sure to clip these little flat seams away. Even though I like to have open seams, I want to make sure that I allow the fabric to give once it's stuffed it could look a little tight in those spots. So make sure to do that. Now we're going to clip around the neck. Be really careful at this point because I've done this before. I've actually cut the body and I've had to make a whole brand new one. So clip around the edge. It's a flat seam, so you just have to do little clips and go all the way around the neck. I like to actually hold it so that my hands, my fingers are protecting the rest of the pieces so that I don't clip it again. When you're done clipping and notching all the way around your fox, we're going to place the legs. The legs are going to go on the front of the fox body, so you'll have to move the arms out of the way. To do this, you need to stuff the arms up inside to the head. This might be a little uncomfortable for the fox, but it's just temporary. So now the arms are out of the way. Now we want to get the tail out of the way. And we're going to sew the legs so that they curve inward. You don't want to sew them so they curve outward. So as you do this, you'll take the legs and you'll flip them down onto the belly piece. I'm going to pin one leg approximately a ½ inch away from that center belly seam. And then I'm going to pin the other leg on the other side of that seam. And then I'm going to stitch them in place. Now that I have my legs attached, I'm going to stuff them through the body and out the back center opening. Find the center seam from the front of the body and the center seam for the back of the body and pin those together. Then you're going to pin the rest of this bottom part so that you can sew from this last seam stitch all the way across to the other side. Make sure as you're doing this that the bottom fabric is not all bunched up. So sometimes you just may need to check it so that it's not bunching up under there, because you really can't see it. You're blind stitching this section. I like to go over the legs just because they might get pulled on a little bit by little kids. So sometimes that extra stitching makes it a little more secure. Now the legs are attached, the fox body is sewn up together, and we're going to turn everything right side out through that opening. And we're going to gently pull those arms out of the head, one by one. And then we're going to turn the head right side out. So now you have your fox body all put together. If you want to use safety eyes, you'll need to put the safety eyes on before you do the stuffing. If you don't, you'll have a hard time reaching it. Now I've stuffed my fox, and I'm going to give him embroidery eyes, and I'm going to close up his back with a ladder stitch. Before I do that, I'm going to work on his little hat. To cut out his hat, I need two different pieces. If you really want, you can do the same fabric. I like to use different color fabric because it will be reversible. So you can get your die, and you want to place the hat piece on the end of the die, and we'll place another piece there with it. Make sure that you're lined up so you get all of the piece. I would have cut the tip off just now if I didn't fix that. Because I'm working on the end of the die, I'm just going to use my small cutting pad. I've got my two hat pieces, and now I'm going to cut out some little pieces for the balloon. So I'm going to put 2 to 3 layers of felt at a time is sufficient. If I'm using scrap pieces, I want to use the smaller piece first to make sure that it's going to cut out the entire die and I'm not going to misalign it. Cut out as many balloons as you want. Each balloon that I've made requires 2 pieces, 1 on each side. I've decided that I want to put a little star on the front of my fox hat. To do that, just put a little dab of glue. You can use a little dab from a glue stick. Place it down right on top, about 3/4 of an inch away from the curved edge, maybe a little bit lower. And then press the star onto your hat. Make sure when you're pressing the star onto the hat that you're pressing the fabric side, not the wool felt side. Now that our star is in place, we're going to stitch it. Because the star is so tiny, you may want to use a smaller stitch length, but at each point you'll pivot before going on to the next point. Now you want to put the fox hat pieces together, and you want to sew from one corner all the way around the curve to the other corner. So line your pieces up and sew that curved edge. Now that we've got our 2 fox hat pieces together, we need to notch the edge of this curved seam that we just did. So go ahead and notch the edge all the way around. I like to go one way and then back the other way. This puts little tiny triangles in there. Now we're going to fold it in half, and we're going to line up the seam on one edge to the seam on the other edge. Press those seams open. This is important to reduce the bulk when it gets turned right side out. Pin this in place, and you need to decide which side of the fabric you want out. Because I want the blue side out, I'm going to stitch all the way down the blue edge. I'm going to stitch a little bit of the white. I'm going to leave a little opening and stitch all the way down to the point. Before I sew this little tip, I actually like to fold my hat over. Again, this is totally optional, but I like to fold it over and stitch this little top edge together, so that when it's reversible, the 2 pieces aren't coming apart. Now we've got our 2 pieces attached, and we're going to find the little opening on the white side, and I'm going to put a turning tube right through there to help me turn this right side out. I'm going to just push it over to that side, and then I'm going to push it in. Once a little bit of it comes out, you can just take the turning tubes out and keep turning it right side out. To poke out the tip, I like to go through the little hole, and I like to just kind of pull on it and poke on it at the same time. Now that the fox hat is turned all the way out, this little opening will be there until you stitch it closed by hand. Now I'm going to sew a stitch all the way around the bottom of the brim. It will get a little bit thick where the seams are, so just be gentle with your machine and go over that seam carefully. Now that my hat has a top stitch all the way around the bottom, I'm just turning it right side out to the side that I want to show. Poking out the top, I'm going to sit it right on top of the fox. Now if you want, you can stitch the hat to his head, or you can attach some elastic to it. I really like clear elastic, but you can also attach a really thin rope-like elastic. And that'll just sit right there. Now we're going to make some balloons. To make your balloons, you'll need 2 pieces together, and you're going to stitch from one corner of the bottom part of the balloon all the way around to the other corner. You're going to leave the bottom open so that you can put a little stick or something through there. Now that I've got my balloon sewn, I'm going to put a little tiny stick right into that opening. Might have to work it in there a little bit, but be careful not to jam a hole in the fabric. And there you have a little balloon. So you can make as many balloons as you want. You can make little birthday cards, anything you want. But for now, our fox is going to play with them at his party. I want to show you a couple other things you can do with your fox die. First of all, you can use this really great cuddle fabric. It's very soft. You don't have to stuff it as much. You can use safety eyes on them or embroidery eyes still. But one little trick that I learned while making this fox was if you place a little bit of muslin on your die first, it'll prevent the fabric from shifting too much, and it will prevent all those little pieces from getting stuck in the die area. So it's less cleaning. So you just place one piece on there, and then you're going to place your cuddle fabric down. In the first pass, you want to have your fabric facing upright. During the second pass, you want to place your fabric face down. The reason for that is you want to make sure you have all the mirror images so that you have all the pieces that you need to make your fox. By doing one piece at a time, you'll prevent those pieces from shifting and sliding on the die. When I was designing this fox die, I wanted to make sure that you could use the fox die and the doll die simultaneously. So what I did was I made sure that the neck pieces were the same, that the arms and the legs were all relative. So what you can do is you can take pieces from my doll die and pieces from the fox die and combine them to create a different type of doll or a different type of animal. So this little Santa is the doll head, arms, and legs, but it's the fox body. So you can see it makes him a little bit fuller. Santa's hat is from the fox die as well. I hope you have fun with my fox die, and I hope you have fun making some different combinations using my doll die and the fox die together. I can't wait to see what you make.